this is destabilizing disability, and this is not what I'm going for today. So let's do a little something something as I get ready for therapy. Okay, so I just started therapy again, but I am not new to therapy. I started therapy when I was like 20, 21, something like that. So I've been in therapy on and off, mostly on, for like over 10 years, I think, at this point. So when I originally went for therapy and started therapy, it was because I was having life circumstances happening that I felt like I could use help with. It wasn't just because my doctors were telling me that all of my symptoms were, mental and emotional, and so I needed to fix those things. However, that was on the list of things that they were saying and that, we could deal with. Because here's the thing, whether or not my symptoms and my health problems were actually coming from my mental, there's no harm in working on the mental emotional, I felt. And not to mention that dealing with chronic illness, chronic pain, people, dynamic disability, finances, the medical world, the insurance world, the actual world, can be a little traumatic. You might think I'm a little dramatic for saying that, but I don't think so. I don't think so. And if you watch my channel and hear some of my stories, hopefully you will join my side. Hopefully, because I do love outside validation. So anyways, therapy can help in life. And even if it doesn't take away your symptoms, it can help you actually live life and do it pretty well and with grace. And not to mention that if you have chronic illness and chronic pain and weird conditions that aren't easily diagnosed these days, then you might also have some medical trauma like me. Join the club. Just kidding. It's one of the worst clubs to be in, so I'm so sorry. So when I started therapy, I talked a lot about like my family situation, some other trauma that I've experienced, things like that, my anxiety and depression. And I talked a little bit about my health journey and my symptoms and how it's hard like that. And I didn't love what I got back on that end, which I will tell you why. But I didn't love what I got back as far as what I was sharing with my health thing. So I didn't really share too much more about that. So anyways, I didn't love what the therapist said. However, that didn't mean that she was a bad therapist. So I continued to talk about other situations in my life, and I really got a lot of validation that I was seeking. And it helped with my relationship with my mom because she went with me. And that was very important to me because one, she was my mom, but also because growing up, even at this point, she still didn't understand. But growing up, she didn't really understand how sick I was and what was going wrong. What was going wrong with me? What was wrong with me? She didn't really understand what was wrong with me, understandably, because I didn't understand either. And how could I say things? And it's a hard thing. Doctors don't understand, and they're professionals. Anyways, so she had pushed me a little bit beyond a little bit. But anyways, I had experienced her feeling like, maybe I'm not doing enough or that I'm just needing extra things in my life, but really extra things were more for me to take care of, and it was very difficult. And then, just pushing me past my limits, which shouldn't have been my limits because, there was nothing wrong with me. So that made sense for her at the time. Anyway, so going to therapy really helped us in our relationship in those things without even her completely understanding what was going on with my body, without me understanding what's going on with my body. And that itself was a gift. Years later, she did call me and tell me that she was sorry because she never realized how sick I was and that she understood me in ways that she didn't understand all growing up and until then. But I think a part of that was because she was experiencing such dramatic and horrible health situations herself, and it kind of all, clicked and related to me. So that's kind of horrible. Also, you don't necessarily want to wish that on someone for them to understand. Also, what are the chances of someone getting so sick in their life for a long enough time and in ways that are similar to you that they understand? Hopefully, the chances are slim, because I wouldn't wish these symptoms in this life on anybody. Now, another thing I had to learn in therapy is probably something you're not going to be very surprised to hear because of what I just said, but I had to learn validation and not to just want it from everybody else and be like, well, my mom said that I need to be able to do all of my chores and these things and help the neighbor and do these things, and that's normal because I'm young and healthy. And the doctor said it's just anxiety, and so I'm fine, so I need to push through and do all of these things. And my family said that I shouldn't apply for disability because I will one day be healthy enough to work if I can just get myself together. And someone else in my family saying, all of these symptoms and the reason why you've lost so much weight is all your fault. You're doing this to yourself. And those situations are other people deciding what is best for me in my life, and some of them overriding what I have decided and said are my limitations or how I'm going to proceed with my life and how I'm going to live it or conserve my energy, or what I am and am not going to eat because it makes me violently ill, or what doctors I will and won't go to. Um, you know? So as you can see, it was important for me to find my own validation because I was probably never going to live up to other people's expectations and what they think I should be doing and living. And it got to the point where it was dangerous for me not to give my own validation and everything that comes with, because other people were making decisions for me and feeling confident enough to override my decisions when I did make one. And that put me in some bad situations as well. And then I felt bad physically, but I still felt bad emotionally and mentally because I felt like, well, I should have been able to do that. I must not have done it right because these people are telling me that that's what I should have been able to do. That's what I should have been able to eat. This doctor should be helping me. This medicine should be curing me. Whatever, right? Now, let's go a little bit more dramatic, shall we? I have had people try to put me into eating disorder places and into mental health facility places because they have thought and felt so strongly that it is all mental or anxiety, or that I'm doing something to myself because, I'm like, oh, I can't eat blueberries because they make my mouth itch and my throat itch and I might break out in hives and things like this. Everyone should be able to eat blueberries. You should eat blueberries, they're healthy for you. And so, you know, they shove them down my throat and then put me in eating disorder place. Well, they try. Now, here's the thing. It has been quite the journey for me to learn that just because someone wants to help or someone is a good person or that I love and respect that person doesn't mean that they are respectful, that they would be helpful to me, that they understand boundaries, or that they are ever going to validate me and could very possibly make me a lot worse physically and emotionally, which obviously the emotions are my responsibility. But if I'm going, I'm sick, I need help, and they're going, it's all in your head, we're gonna have you examined by a mental institution and put you in there. Now, you see how that can be dangerous? You see how that can be not helpful? You see how that can be one of the least, it's the opposite of validation, right? Because I can see it, but they can't. I can see it, but they can't. You can see it, but they can't. So it has been very important for me to understand my own validation, give it to me, all those things, because if I'm just seeking validation from other people that I am sick, that things are happening, well, honey, I'm probably not gonna get it. I didn't get it for years. I didn't get it from some of my friends, from my family, from my parents, from doctors, you know? But that didn't mean that there wasn't anything wrong with me. Nor did it mean that the decisions and the limitations that I was setting, even though I didn't know exactly what was wrong with me, were wrong, right? And as I continue to make decisions for myself, whether that's applying for disability or starting a YouTube channel or using a wheelchair, all of those things, whatever the decisions I make my life more comfortable or less painful, and more accessible, and be able to live as independently as I can or whatever, those things I want to be appreciated, celebrated, and firm decisions that I can go into confidently and work towards and be invested in, right? And for me, that's very difficult to do when I have someone else's voice trying to take me out of that situation, telling me I don't deserve to be on disability, or I don't deserve to make my own medical decisions, or whatever the case. It is really not helpful to me living life. It is not helpful to my mental state. And it is not helpful to my husband, who has to hear about it from me later. Or how he has to undo certain things because people make me sicker. And it means that there are places that should feel like safe places, and people who are my friends and family and parents should feel like safe people who aren't. Now, what does this mean? What doesn't it mean? Well, it doesn't mean that these are bad people. It doesn't mean that these people can't help me in general in life with my disability stuff or being a person. And it doesn't mean that I can't be friends with these people on some level, right? Now, it also doesn't mean, if you remember the story about my mom, it also doesn't mean that they will never understand or that they will never be understanding and, change their ways, right? Because I've experienced that. So I am telling you, it is very possible. How likely is it? I don't know. But it is possible. So, and even like the story with my mom, she was still understanding more, right? Where we could have the kind of relationship that I always wanted to have after going to therapy with me, without even us having diagnosis and things. She was still able to be better at understanding my boundaries and limitations, and also maybe not like labeling me as something or someone, or thinking, well, you're not doing this, so it must be because you're too lazy or this. It could be, well, you said you're not going to do it, so you're not going to do it, and that's your decision, so moving on, right? What a beautiful thing. So if you are experiencing a hard time, someone close in your life that you want to stay in your life and to do better, there are options. And here's the thing is, whether you're healthy or unhealthy, so whether I was chronically ill or not, I can give them the opportunity to do better, you know? And here's the thing, whether it was, hey, I need you to respect whether I or not I can eat blueberries, or if it's, hey, I like it when you text me back within 24 hours, otherwise I feel like you're avoiding me, or that, maybe there's something wrong, you're mad at me, and it's just, I would feel better if you could make that extra effort. Well, my goodness, if someone said those things to me, I would be like, oh my, I didn't realize. And even if I don't completely understand, like, what do you mean? It's just a text message. It just escaped my memory. Whether or not I understand, I can go, that person is important. Their feelings are important. And It's not a big deal to me, so I will make a better concerted effort. It's, 5 seconds of my day to go, hey, I'm busy, I'll text you back later. Hey, thanks for checking in. I so much to tell you. I'll text you back when I can with more deets. Whatever it is. Same thing with blueberries. Okay, well, is there something else that you want or you like? Or do you want to just go to Chick-fil-A and then I don't have to try to remember or cook things? What's your favorite place to go? And I'll just remember that and then we can always go there. Or do you want to bring your own food and then we'll just, let's do something together that isn't eating. I have people in my life that I want to keep in my life despite them not really being in a place where I feel safe and comfortable to talk about those things, so I don't talk about them. I have a lot of things to talk about in my life. I watch Korean dramas. My goodness, I can sit there and talk to you about them all day. Instagram, the latest trend, I don't know. There's so many things to talk about in life, and they can be a good friend and a support for me in those ways. So, like I mentioned, there are people who said that they want to help me and take care of me, whatever, and then they override my decisions and end up making me worse. So, they're not people that I necessarily am going to have around as the only person around, right? Where I'm in a position that they're a caregiver or have to help me deal with some sort of episode or crisis, right? So I make a concerted effort. If I hang out with them, there's probably someone else around, like my husband or whatever. I'm doing really good that day, and so I'm confident that I won't need too much of their help, whatever. But that doesn't mean that they can't help you because I have people like that, and you know what they've done? They've bought me groceries before. I have my favorite body wash is at Trader Joe's, and I don't live near Trader Joe's. I also don't do well in cars, right? So I have people who go to Trader Joe's and they're like, hey, I'll pick up that body wash for you when I go. Well, look at that. That's super helpful. Now I get my favorite body wash. I don't have to leave my house. Like, everything's great. And if they pay for it, then it's like, oh my goodness, and you pay. Like, no matter what, they are still helping me in a place of something that I need help. The point is that I have experienced and just needed to shift those relationships around a little bit. And there are people and friendships that I have mostly just walked away from, and you say hi when you see them and things like that. That's fine. There's billions of people in the world for me to be friends with and for them to be friends with, and we can be cordial, and if things change one day, that's great. We don't have to burn bridges, right? But one of the things that I just want to say for myself, if anything, this is my self-validation video. Not really. But one of the big things that I want to say is that people can be understanding. So I have run into these situations with these people and gone, oh, people just can't understand because they haven't been through it. And that's why they're acting like this or treating me like this or saying these things that I thought, like, I didn't think I'd ever say something like that. It's a bit inappropriate. Why are you commenting on my body and things like that in such a negative light? I don't understand. That doesn't mean that there aren't understanding people out there. And that doesn't mean that you don't have to be their friends or burn bridges with the people who aren't understanding. So, my husband, when I met him and we dated and then we got married, all the things, that's how he's my husband. He had not experienced, chronic health issues like that. He had not experienced coming from a broken family. He had not experienced being a woman or a person of color. He hasn't experienced a lot of things. But he has tried really hard, and I think he's done a decent job to be understanding. And he is one of the people that's going to be most affected, his life and everything, because of me and what's going on emotionally, mentally, and physically, health wise. So if anyone was like, you know what, I'm going to override this because I think I know better, or because I think this would be a better situation for me or for whatever, then he's the person, right, that you would think would be doing that. He would have the most, invested. But no, but no. So, just with hearing those two little examples of my mom not knowing how sick I was and being my mom, person of authority, always thinking she knows better, as a parent does, and my husband, who did know how sick I was at some point and went through all of my diagnosis with me and went through really hard time and in the hospital and out of the hospital and became my caretaker, please know that people can be understanding whether they've had big health issues or not. Please know that people can change. Please know that people can still help you without getting in your business and saying things, and keep them at a little bit of a distance. You know, go grocery shopping for me. Pick this up. Can you grab this and this from the mall? I'm going to do an online pickup order. It can happen. Things can be. Anyways, thanks for doing my makeup for me and doing something with my hair so that I can go to therapy and just cry this all off and just hold my hair and pull it out. Yeah, so great. I'll talk to you later. It just fell all over me. This is my favorite t-shirt. This is the first dilemma that I am facing in my life is, do I use these because they match? Or do I use these because they're also cute and they also like kind of match? They match in my head. Because the reality is these ones, these are a little fancy and I'm just gonna wear a t-shirt, you know? I don't know. I'm thinking these, even though they're different colors. They actually, both these colors are in my shirt, so they match enough. And that works just, oh, there's a lot of makeup on my mirror.